Hi, this is Carl, and I'm here to give you part 2 of the discussion on German noun qualifiers, by which I meant those words which can be placed immediately before nouns in German, such as the, der, die, das, my, mine or meine, his, sein or seine, your, dein or deine. So I'll continue that discussion again for the purposes of revision, but I'll also go on to discuss some other aspects of German noun qualifiers and corresponding pronouns. So we talked about the similarity between the noun qualifier used before a masculine noun and a neuter noun, usually identical, and then another noun qualifier which is identical before the feminine and the plural noun. So that rule applies to, for example, mein, dein, sein, ein, the word for a or an, although the plural form is obviously some in English and translates differently into German as einiger. And I mentioned the pronouns she and her, referring to something feminine or somebody feminine, and the plural pronouns they and them being identical in German, in other words, sie, written with a small s. I then went on to say that the logic could then be applied to the fact that the translations of her and their, as in her mother and their mother, must be identical in German, because her refers to the noun being possessed by the female, and their, T-H-E-I-R, refers to the noun being possessed by a plural group of people, in other words, they. Now, if we take again the pronoun sie, which means she, her, they, and them, and we capitalize the s, we are left with the pronoun which is translated into English as you, in brackets, formal, one person or more than one person. So therefore, if you capitalize sie to produce sie, so you're going from she, her, they, and them to you formal, then if you capitalize ihr, as in ihr Vater, then you go from either her father or their father to your father formal. For those of you who have studied the grammar of the German language in some depth, you might be familiar with the acronym FOGDUE, F-O-G-D-U-E, which represent the 6 initial letters of 6 different prepositions in German, which take what is known as the accusative case. But that will be discussed in another video. F for für, meaning for, intended for. O for ohne, without. Gegen, against. Durch, through. Meaning around or at. And entlang, meaning across. Now, any noun qualifier which is used after any of those words will remain unchanged apart from the masculine noun qualifier. So therefore, the words for der, die, das, and die, der would be the only one which would be altered after using any of the words whose initial letters are FOGDUE. So der becomes den, sein Bruder, his brother, if you were saying for his brother, would then become für seinen Bruder. So you would extend the base word sein by the addition of an en to produce seinen. Now, the fact that the noun qualifier used before a masculine noun and used after any of the prepositions in the FOGDUE group changes to an n ending explains why the pronoun for him, which in German is given as ihn, also ends in that same consonant, n. Let's now take a look at what is known as the dative case. For those of you who have been provided at any time with tables in which you have, for example, listed in columns der, die, das, die, den, die, das, die, dem, der, dem, den, that third column of dem, der, dem, den is known as the dative case. So the dem for masculine, der for feminine, dem for neuter, and den for plural. and the final letters, but in the case of the plural noun qualifier, the last two letters, if you take those and place them one after another, you are left with the spelling misdemeanor, which could help you potentially to remember when you have to use which word and before which noun gender, masculine, feminine, neuter or plural. But then again, we have a list of prepositions which determine when der would change to dem, when die, feminine, would change to der, when das, neuter, would change to dem, and when the plural word die would change to dem. And the prepositions, if we take the initial letters, spell V, letter V, ban, B-A-N, the, letter Z, A-G-M, S, as in AGM's, Annual General Meetings. So we have a distorted pronunciation of we ban the AGMs, the Annual General Meetings, by taking those prepositions. So I'll just recap what they all mean. V is for von, from. B is for by, which usually means at, as in at a workplace. With, as in as far as something is concerned. With this situation, for example. A for aus, which means out of, from, as in emanating from, stemming from. Nach, which means to a town, city or a country. It also means after and according to. Zu, meaning to, or for, as in on the particular occasion of, for somebody's birthday, for an anniversary. And also zu is only used for stating that you're going to, for example, a supermarket, to a museum, but not a town, a city or a country, for which you must use the preposition nach. Außer, which means apart from or except. Gegenüber, meaning opposite, placed usually after the noun, but before the noun if you use gegenüber von, opposite from. And if you do that, then the word order in German remains unaffected from the English. Mit, for with, and finally seit, which means since, or for, as in a particular period of time. So I'll leave that video there, and I may continue with further discussions about German grammar at a later stage.